we talked about the difference between discriminative and generative. Naive Bayes is a generative model. And what that means is it computes its predictions by modeling each class, not just by looking at the boundary between the classes. So pictorially, what that looks like is you're trying to separate the black from the white, right? A generative classifier will construct a model of all blacks and then a model of all whites, and then it will look at a data point and ask a question, does that look more like my model of blacks or more like my model of whites? And it'll use that as a basis for making the decision whether to classify it as black or white. A discriminative classifier will not construct a model. It'll just look for the boundary. It'll construct the decision boundary directly and then ask a question, which side of a decision boundary do you fall onto, right? Or do you fall on the black side or on the white side? Naive Bayes is generative by definition because of this part right there, right? It constructs the probability of x given y. That's your model. That thing is essentially a box that you give it a digit and it'll tell you how plausible are you to see that bitmap, assuming that it's digit 3 or assuming that it's digit 6. So what it does is it constructs sort of a model of what kind of things you're likely to observe and what kind of things you're not likely to observe for each class. So note that, sometimes people mistaken generative classifiers for probabilistic classifiers. Certainly all generative classifiers are probabilistic. It's hard to construct one that is not. But not all probabilistic classifiers are generative. You could construct the probability of a class, probability of y given x, directly without constructing the probability of x given y. And we will have example later in the course where we do exactly that. So the Maxent, or the logistic regression classifier, constructs the decision boundary directly. It's still probabilistic, it still computes probabilities, but it doesn't construct a model of each class. It focuses directly on the decision boundary between the two classes.